Shalom, y'all. This is me again, the Economical Cowboy. So, got a couple of updates to do and some things I didn't cover very well in the other videos. One was on the rifles. I basically covered the 92 and the 73. 73 is the most popular. Didn't really talk much about the Marlin, and with the Marlin being run by Ruger now, I think they're a pretty good buy. And even the Rimlins, they call the ones made and they were run by Remington. I'm told that the back end they started getting pretty solid, and that with a good workover, they're as good as any rifle. They're always never going to be worth quite as much, but I wouldn't be afraid of one of those. I'm just personally not a Marlin guy. I've owned one Marlin. It was a 22. It's a great rifle, but I never really liked it. It was a 39, made in like 1946 or something like that. Sold it when I got into CAS, and I just really like the Winchesters, even though they don't make any sense with that top eject. But I wanted to talk about some things economical first. So this is a Ruger. Make sure that's empty. Ruger Old Vaquero in 45 that I picked up pretty cheap off the wire. And I'd kind of wanted a 45, and I wanted one with an ACP cylinder, but I just couldn't find one. I'd bought a clone at one time, and I just hated it. And then, as shared in the other video, I got a hold of another clone by another company, and it's a great gun. But that particular one I had was not a good piece of gear. But economics-wise, this one was the case hardening was coming off of it here in the back, and then right here it was completely off on these two back parts. I'm trying not to sneeze at you. And so it was just shiny metal. And this side actually had some rust here and some rust here. So what I did was I took some 2000 grit that I happened to have laying on my workbench and kind of sanded down a little bit right there, and then a little bit up here, and got the rust off. And then I thought, I've got nothing to lose by trying this. And I'd watched a video where a guy used cold bluing formula to make a pattern that looked like case hardening. Now the point is, in economical, is to make the firearm work for as long as possible. And this is a great gun. It shoots point of aim better than my two 44s that I use as my main guns. Easy action, easier than the 44s, because I've never replaced the springs. I've just used them a bunch. And this one probably came from a cowboy who did that. So I'm guessing that this side was rusty because it was the side next, touching his skin. So it probably got, his shirt got wet with sweat, and, salt in the sweat, does some things to finish and worked it off. And this side probably also because it was exposed, and I'm told the ultraviolet will take that case hardening, the coloration off. So I don't really like the deep blue kind. I just like at the front of this firearm. See if we can get it where you can see it a little better. See, this part's the original. And to me, that just looks great. Now, when I started the game, I liked blue guns, but then I got used to it, and now I like these. So what I did was I just took some bluing, this perma blue. I took a Q-tip and put some rubbing alcohol on one end, and went over it really well to get rid of all the oil off of it. And then stuck the other end in the perma blue and dabbed it on there. Now, it won't really lay on there even. It kind of beads up, so you got to keep moving it around. And then when I was done with that, I just let it set for a minute or two. Then I just wiped it off. Didn't even use water, just wiped it off. And as you can see, it looks just like the rest of the case hardening. And I've got that finish on there that will help keep it from rusting. Now this side here, that's next to my body, I can feel a little bit of roughness. I probably should have sanded a little more, but if it starts to rust, I'll do a better job of it, because I was just kind of experimenting. And it didn't cost me anything, because I already had the bluing. The other thing about this firearm is when I bought it, this part here was, for about an inch, was completely rubbed off. And what I had done years ago when I first got into CAS, I'd found a eBay where they were selling gun parts. And so I bought the parts, yeah, there's the original, to a Ruger Super Blackhawk. And it was an entire parts kit, everything in the gun except the frame, which is, of course, the part that has a serial number on it. And so I bought those, and I've been using parts here and there. Put the Super Blackhawk hammer in one of my other guns and all that. So anyway, that really saved me money. I just put the other one on here. It's not perfect. You can see some holster wear there and there, but it's a lot better. Looks good. It saved me money. That $200 I spent on that gun kit, I have more than saved in parts I've used out of it and sold out of it. I sold the grips out of it. I also made a little in the waistband holster for the gun. So that is my 45 with the cold bluing that looks like case hardening on the back. Costs nothing if you already have the cold bluing. Now for some good and some bad, some things I did right, some things I did wrong. Save you some money. So this is another firearm picked off the wire, really cheap. It's a Uberti. I really like it, great gun. And it's stainless steel, but they chrome plated it from the factory. So I don't know if it'll show on this, and I've shown you this in the other video. Yeah, you can kind of see that line there. Some of the chrome was coming off, and it's in 4440. And so I wanted to have a firearm in 4440, see what it was really like, although my Ruger is also 4440, one of my Rugers. And I want to see what a clone was like. I said, well, I can get this cheap enough that I can just experiment with it. I can do whatever I want. I'm probably not going to lose any money on it. And it came with a 44 Special blued cylinder. This is not the cylinder. This is one from my Ruger. So I got it, and I thought that's great. And what I wanted to do was get the 4 5/8 barrel. This was a 5.5 inch barrel. So eventually I got my hacksaw and I cut it off. And by the way, the hacksaw is the way to go. You do not want to use a Dremel. You won't get anything close to straight. And then I straightened off the tip with a file, got it all flattened off and smoothed out. And then I watched some videos on how to crown the barrel, did that. All that worked pretty well. Took the side off this nub and had to cut a groove to place it here. And it had already been filed down. It's pretty short. But it all worked out pretty well. It shoots pretty good according to aim, maybe a little to the left. But what I'm saying is that I did wrong was twofold. First off, don't cut the barrel. It would have been cheaper and easier just to buy a 4 5/8 inch barrel. Maybe it would have taken a while to find one in stainless. That would have been the way to go. But live and learn. I did it and it worked fine. And I love this gun. It handles well, shoots well, the lockup's tight. The other thing I did badly was I wanted the blue cylinder to match, because the 44 Special is what you're going to use most of the time. I was even considering selling one of my Rugers and use this as my second gun. So I took that blued gun and I sanded it down, the blued cylinder, and tried to nickel plate it by immersing it. That was a mistake. So now I know, and I'm trying to get the nickel plate off so that I can redo it with the type where you put the rag and the paintbrush there on the part you're trying to chrome, and it just chromes that spot where you're at. That's the way to do it. I messed up, and so I had all kinds of flaws, and this is the cylinder, and you can see how rough it looks. So I'm getting that chrome off. Used some electrolysis to get some of it off, and now I'm just kind of sanding and filing and whatnot. And then I will do it better and do it right. So that was a waste of time and an intense amount of time, because getting this cleaned up is taking a lot of time. It works as it is, but it doesn't really look any better than it did when it was blued. So if you're ever going to do chrome plating, it's pretty easy. It's pretty cheap, but don't do the immersion method until you've tried it a few times the other way, and then try it on a part that's not very valuable or expensive. If you need to case harden, give a case hardened look, you can do that with cold bluing. And if you like Marlins, that's a good way to go. They're kind of in between the Winchester 92 and the 73 in price, and they're pretty fast once they've been worked on. I'm just not a Marlin guy myself. And with Stogers, I have stuck with the shotguns. I've stuck with the Stoger because, again, I'm not fast enough to need anything else at this point. Maybe someday. All right, well, that is it for today, and I hope this finds you doing well. And if you have any questions, be sure and ask them in the notes.